There he is.
Excellent.
There he is.
Jesus Christ.
All right, man.
What a shit show that
Oh,
was.
all right. So you dialed in on your modem over AOL and we're here now?
Dude, Barney Rubble's on.
That's all good, man. Hey,
Man.
just so you know, we've got recording going in progress. This is all pre-roll. I may
Okay.
clip some of it for, you know how I do with the intro
just
before
edit
the
it the way you
music.
want. Okay.
Don't worry. If you say something crazy that would bring liability upon you, I will not publish that. Don't worry. I'll cut that out.
Good to know. Thanks.
Oh, we'll
Stay out late to masturbate and hang out with our friends. We'll share a few good microbrews, the good times never end. From seaside to the mountains, we'll travel many lands. Eateth of their pub cuisine and hear their local bands. We'll drink it from a bottle in a can or what's on tap. We'll rate each brew as we do with fairness and a map. Spirits are up, we'll fill our cup, the wind is in our sails. We'll drunkenly mix metaphors and travel happy trails.
Welcome back to Hoppy Trails, a show where we have our eye on what's happening with current events in the beer industry, and every now and again we're able to make a connection, bring some info to you, talk about what's going on, talk about a lot of other things. You know the show. Here we go.
Maybe we'll call it Eye in the Sky. Who knows?
Maybe we'll call it Eye in the Sky.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Travis. And once again, we are bringing special guests to you. That's right. You don't just have to listen to Nick and me. We bring on some other voices, people that know some stuff, people that are doing some stuff, and we bring them to you. Special guest, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Julio Peix. I'm living in Sacramento.
And Julio, we met actually because we were, I guess, getting connected over a festival that's coming up that you are, I think it would be fair to say, heavily involved with. And we got connected that way, got to talking and figured out, I don't know, we've got a lot of stuff in common. What's that festival that we have coming up here?
Well, we're doing, it's gonna be my 10th annual, but we didn't do the last 2 years because of COVID. But it's a chili and beer event, and it's a lot of fun. We do it. This year I'm doing it for the first time with the East Sac, because I'm in Sacramento, East Sac Chamber of Commerce. And then
Yeah.
I've been doing it for all these years with Cisco Foods, they're a big company.
Cisco Foods, the big company. I mean, if anybody who's worked in or run a restaurant, you know who Cisco Foods is. They're the ones they supply. I mean, they supply everybody, right?
Yeah, they're huge. And that's one of the things I got involved with them, because they really want to project themselves as just not a low tier food distributor. They do high end stuff. I mean, you can spend money, you can go top stuff or you can go low. And that's what they're trying to get that to the public. Like, hey man, we're just not these, cheap burgers, cheap meats. And we use them all the time. We buy a lot of high end stuff, and that's what we do. And it's pretty cool, because what they do is they supply all the proteins, everything you need, tomatoes, whatever, onions, for all the participants. So you can enter, it's free. What I do is we do hold $100 deposit on a card for the public, because I'm counting on chili. I got bodies I got to fill. And one year
Yes.
I had 4 people cancel, and I was doing 5 gallons at a time, and I go, that's 20 gallons. I just lost 20 gallons of chili.
And let me explain to you, if you ever come up 20 gallons of chili short, man, that's a problem. That is a problem.
It is. It's like running out of beer at a beer festival. Can't have it.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
it just hurt my heart. Don't say that. That hurts my heart.
Well, people don't think about that. And I'm like, you got to do the numbers. You get X amount of people, and then they're all going to have, we do little 5-ounce glasses, because I don't want people getting hammered. And, in 10 years, we've only had 2 girls get really messed up because they bought the tickets for beer only. They didn't buy food. So they just sloshed. We learned that lesson.
Little bit of advice, everybody. If you haven't been to a festival, or if you've only been to a couple, here's the deal. You got to eat food. You got to drink water. That's the facts of the matter.
Yep.
We've got different festivals. Some of them last, I don't know, maybe 2 hours, kind of on the low end. Some of them are lasting 4 hours, things like that. You got to hydrate. You got to eat food. Bring some snacks if there's not food provided. Come on, man. It's a marathon, not a sprint, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, delicious food and beer go hand in hand. It's like,
Yes, they do.
I can't not go to and drink some delicious beer and not be able to have some delicious food.
Yeah,
Like,
you got to balance. You got to balance. I mean, I go to so many events. I mean, we used to Anchor. I used to do beer festivals everywhere, and then we were distilling. You want to talk about insanity? We used to do the whiskey fest. And you picture 300 whiskeys. Oh my God! By the end of the night, people are talking to you in tongues. And you're done. You're
That's
done.
the festival we need.
It was
to go
crazy.
Come on,
It was crazy.
how are you gonna
It was fun.
taste? How are you gonna taste 300 whiskeys
Oh,
and have an
even,
opinion
even
about the last 270? Come
oh,
on.
the pros are good at it. You could tell who was good. They come in and they go to the food section first because there was all this kind of food, and they chow down. Then,
Yeah.
and all you need to do is literally, I'm not kidding you. All you need to do is just touch it with your tongue because your tongue absorbs so much. If you just put your tongue, not even swish it around your mouth, just put your tongue in and taste it. If you did that to 20 whiskeys, you already hammered. You already.
Mhm.
And see, the thing at Anchor, we were the first to do a high end pot still. We were the first in the United
Yeah.
States. Yeah,
That's something that I've seen a lot of other places. Rogue, they started doing
oh, yeah,
theirs,
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
few other places. And I always talk about something that I've always wondered why more places don't get into it. A lot of the distilling, they come in and they're like, okay, you distill it this way, your cuts, very important, everything like that, and your aging, very important. But
Yeah.
what I think a lot of folks who are just into distilling, they don't have the same expertise in the grain bill. And the grain bill, that's where a beer brewer, that's where a beer brewer shines. And so if you've got a brewery and then you start distilling, man, now you know the depth of the grain bill, and that's the heart. That's where it starts, you
Well,
know?
there's so many variables. It goes from grain to barrels to the charring. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember I did a lot of dinners with Fritz too. We used to do these Maytag dinners all over the country.
And Fritz being Fritz Maytag.
Fritz Maytag, owner of the brewery. But it was
Yep.
crazy because we were the only ones privately held in the United States that had a brewery, a distillery, and he also owns in Spring Mountain, St. Helena. He owns the top of the mountain, 100 and something acres. So we had a winery. So the grapes would come into San Francisco, and across the street we had another building, and he got a lifetime pass tunnel. So all the glycol water would go over to the winery. So we had all this that had access to us. I mean, our fingertips. It was crazy. So we
That
did these.
that is that is crazy. I want to touch on this. That is crazy. You've got brewery distillery over here, glycol going in a tunnel over to the wine. I mean,
Oh,
yeah, that's nuts, man. You got a name like Maytag, which means there's money in there. You've got a name like Anchor Brewing, which has history going back over 100 years. I mean, come on, man. If I had a place in San Francisco and a place across the street, could I run glycol lines under the street? You know I couldn't.
it was debauchery, total debauchery. Because I had people from, and I had a bunch of states. I had like 20 some states. So I had people like good accounts come from Chicago, and and I got hookups. I knew people all over. So we would put them up at the hotel, the Fairmont. And I got a great rate, so they're like, "Wow, we're staying at the Fairmont," which it was a very expensive hotel, but I knew the guys there, so we got a great rate. Then they come to the brewery. So Nick and Travis come to San Francisco. They own a couple of restaurants in Chicago, so they come and I'm going to show them. I take them around the brewery, give them a whole tour. Beautiful building. I mean, up on the roof, you got the view of the bay, everything. Then we'd go up to the fourth floor, which we have the stills. And the funny thing is, for 2 years, nobody knew we had a still because we had three walls that would come down and close it up. Nobody knew it was there. From
Yeah.
'93, we were distilling for nobody. And the buzz, and the funny, the buzz in the industry was we were buying a lot of rye because we did 100% rye whiskey. So we're buying all this
Yeah.
rye. So
Yeah.
in the industry, everybody talks, and if you're a purveyor and you're supplying the brewery with all the grains, and they're like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Oh shit, man! Anchor's buying rye like it's going out of style." So everybody thought we were going to come out with the rye beer. Well, if you remember the
Yeah, but I
brewery,
mean, what's it gonna be like a 3-year aged rye beer? I mean, come on, maybe you've been
no, no,
buying rye
hold,
for
hold
2 years.
hold
What are
on,
you doing with it?
hold on. If you remember back in the day, until Budweiser bought it, up in Washington, there was Red Hook.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Red Hook,
Red Hook.
absolutely.
All of a sudden, Red Hook comes out with this rye beer, and we laughed because it was like, we're not coming out with the rye beer, we're coming out with the rye whiskey. And then that's when the word came out, because at the time in '93, the only rye whiskey available was Old Overholt. It was terrible. It
Oh
was
yeah,
every bar had it. Now
yeah.
you go to a bar And you look at the whiskeys, rye whiskeys, there's got to be at least 100.
Oh
But
yeah.
when we came out with it, we were the only ones. We were like the first horse. And same with the high end.
I love that. It sounds like Red Hook saw you're purchasing a grain bills and they tried to scoop you and they're like, we'll come out with a rye first. And then lo and behold,
That was the buzz, It's like, what are they doing? They're buying all this stuff. But that's another thing, Fritz. I mean, we didn't cut corners because when you distill, you have to have 51% of any grain, and then you could use adjuncts. You could use corn, you can use rice, you can use
yeah,
anything you want. Well, not
yeah.
Fritz. We made it 100% rye, and we did all
100%
rye.
rye.
Yeah.
Now, you know what? That's actually really interesting. I officially have never distilled anything. Unofficially, listeners, as long as everyone who's law enforcement has gotten off of and stopped listening, unofficially distilled a couple of things. And here's the deal: there's a lot of folks who will use their base grain, their flavor grain, and then they'll supplement it a lot with sugar, just white sugar, just something fermentable to make the alcohol. And I've always said I'm not a big fan of the flavors that you get from fermented white sugar. I'm just not. I
Yeah.
can taste it, I can tell when it's in there, and I'm not into it. And so when I do a corn whiskey, that corn whiskey is 100% corn. That's it. I don't add any white sugar, nothing like that. And you go straight to it and you get a very different product. Now with rye, my thought has always been on that. Maybe drop, I don't know, like 20% rye in and go in with a couple of your other grains, your wheat, a little bit of this or that, but only maybe 20% rye because rye has a very, I don't know, unique and aggressive flavor. Now a 100% rye grain bill, tell me how that comes out. That's got to be a unique spirit. No two ways about it.
The reason why he did it was he wanted to do it George Washington's recipe, which is a whole nother
Get
can
out
of
of
worms.
here.
Because
Yeah.
George Washington made rye whiskey in his plantation, but he did it in new and used oak barrels. I mean, American oak toasted. Okay. So by law, all whiskeys have to be aged 3 years in charred new American oak barrels. Well, we did both. So the trippy thing about this is we do it, and it's clear when it comes out. You put it in the barrel, and the charred barrel after 3 years would come out much darker. It was very masculine. It was smoky, darker.
Sure.
And then we taste it, compare it to the 2-year-old, and it was like two brothers separated at birth. So or whatever, it's like you'd have this new or used barrels we had, and it was in toasted oak barrels, so it came out very blonde, very soft, almost feminine. It was so it has softer flavor. And then we had the bold flavor. And then the other thing Fritz wanted to do, he wanted to do it just like they did back in the day. So we didn't cut it. It was cast strength. So it was 124 to 125 proof, because back in the day, we're going to take it over to Nick's Tavern or Saloon, and we load the barrel up, and we delivered it to him, and it was up to his discretion on how he wanted to cut it and charge. The more you diluted it,
Sure.
the less you paid, and but because back then, you're not going to make this thing and put water in it. You're going to kill the poor horse, man. It's going to weigh a ton. So the horse, so you got to take all this into account.
Yes.
It's sort of like when
Yes.
we started distilling high-end gin. Here's another, everybody thinks, oh man, you see these bottles? Oh my God, distilled, 4 times, 12 times, 10 times. That's BS, because the more you triple distill, quadruple, it's like going to buy gas. You got grade A, B, and C, right? So of course, A is the highest octane. It's the most expensive. That's when you
Yeah.
buy neutral spirits. There's people that have, continuous stills. They're making this stuff nonstop. You go there and you buy what you want. You buy whatever neutral spirits, because you're going to need it, because you're not going to be in the corner shucking corn and cooking that. Hello, no.
Not on that level. No, you're not. No.
My only thing is you pay for what you want. So we buy neutral spirit, but high grade, but then we would do our variation. We'd run it once, and we'd add our botanicals, whatever we want to, our juniper berries, whatever recipe we want to do. So you run it that one time, but we ran it one time. But if you ever get a chance, buy a bottle of Junipero. It's still the best gin I've ever had. It's Junipero gin. The running joke, it's 98.6 proof, so it's your body temperature. That was a joke
Yeah.
at the brewery. But I keep telling you pour yourself, make a martini. You can drink it like water. There is no burn, none. so
Yeah.
smooth, and it's 100
Yeah.
proof. You're like, this is insane. It was so smooth.
Yeah.
But the way I describe it to people, like, oh, triple distilled, this and that. I go, dude, it's like buying laundry. You could buy Tide and do your wash once. You could buy crap detergent, and you got to wash your load 2, 3 times before you get the stains out. Because you buy
Yeah.
cheap detergent, you get what you pay for. Is
Oh,
my
yeah.
bottom line. So
Absolutely.
always don't always think it's like, oh, it's distilled 15 times. It must be fantastic. No, it's not. They're starting with the worst booze you can. They just keep what you do is you keep strip. It's an onion. You keep every time you distill it, you take you take a layer off, another layer
Yeah.
off, and then you finally end up with whatever you want to end up with. So it's just funny how distilling goes. And
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I did a dinner with Fritz once, and it was so funny because people were like, can you compare like with the winery? What's compare wine to beer, making winemakers to beer. And Fritz had the best. I'm like, wow, that's pretty damn good. He goes, winemaker works with oil. So you pick the grapes, you crush it, you make the juice. Now you have this cab, and it's like, oh, it's okay. You add some other Merlot, maybe you add a little Barbera, whatever. You can tweak it, right? And then even
Sure.
when it gets in the barrels, you can tweak that. You can add different things. You can do stuff to barrels. He goes, when you make beer, it's like watercolor. You make it. That's it. You can't really do anything more to that batch. You made it. You're done. You
Yeah.
cannot put other things in it. You can't doctor it up to make it. That's what my running thing. I know you guys like sours. I crack up. I go, who made the first sour? Was it a batch of beer? It tasted like shit, and they're like, hey, we got a sour. That's what
I'll
we're
tell
gonna
you.
do.
I'll tell you what, the some of the first beers were probably some of the first sours because I'll tell you
Absolutely.
what, you leave grains out to ferment on their own. Here's how beer started, man. Somebody made some porridge and they didn't clean it up, and the next day they thought, I'm gonna eat these leftovers, and they thought, wow, this has a tang and it makes me feel real good.
Maybe was anything clean, hygiene back then? I mean, you have shit laying all over.
Oh,
You're like, oh my god, hello. The
right.
monks, they do those wild ciders and stuff. They got stuff, they got spores flying around. And stuff. You're like, oh, hey, you didn't make it the same. Well, that spore wasn't here this time. We got another one. It's like, hey, who knows? You sit there and like, come on, man. That's why those guys don't talk. They're too busy making hooch. Those monks. I
But
mean,
that's and that is so much with the very ancient when you were talking about the different types of abbeys and things like that. Yeah, it really was. They were like, this is a stick that has magic in it. And every
yeah,
time I stir the beer with this, things go off. It's like, well, yeah, man, that stick is full of, yeast and a
yeah.
little bit of bacteria that makes it happen. And so yeah, that stick is inoculating your batch every time. It's pretty magical if you don't know much else about it. But realistically, we're talking, open tank, open top fermenters and like that, which actually comes right back around to Anchor. With Anchor, what are we talking? Open top, right?
Oh man, we had a room because now back in the day, these things were built on top of roofs of buildings, that when they were brewing and, birds, whatever could fly over. But now we had them in these rooms. They were like, we pumped in pure oxygen. They were open. They were about maybe 4 feet, no, not even 3 feet deep or something. They were angled fermenters. They were like a pool, big pool that was like, knee deep. And that's where we put the beer in. Steam is a bottom fermenter, so it just ferment in the bottom, and it would foam up. All of a sudden, it looked like when you get root beer and you add the scoops of ice cream, and it just gets that crazy head on top. That's what it was
Oh,
like.
yeah.
And then when we dump it down to the holding tanks down in the cellar, I cleaned many of them. You had to go clean the fermenter and the holding tank and the fermenter, and it was like a milkshake, all the dead yeast. It was just crazy and slipperier than hell. One time I fell back, I hit my head, I almost got a concussion. I went heels, my boots and my whites. It went my feet went over my head, and I just went bam. And oh my god, I was seeing like the cartoons. It was stars. And then I didn't want to be that idiot that fell because my white feet were covered. So I ran as fast as I could in boots. I almost killed myself up the stairs to go to my locker, get rid of my whites, and put another pair of whites on, so nobody at the brewery would see me, the idiot that almost broke his neck cleaning fermenter. But it was a
Well,
craziest place to work. I mean, it was Oompa Loompa
well,
land.
and here's I want to ask you because we talk about so many people with Anchor. They say Anchor steam, and that's the term they use. They go, "Oh, this is an Anchor steam. This is an Anchor steam." But Anchor Anchor's the brewing company, and they made a steam beer, right? I
Well,
mean, it's
well,
not
Fritz got he was smart. He got because before Prohibition, everything was steam. San Francisco had 30, 50, 60 all steam beer. Everything was that was the style at the time. Then Prohibition hit.
it's a basically a lager
It's
style
a
beer
lager.
that's not cooled down to lager temperatures. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, colder temperatures, correct. And that's where they don't know where the name came from technically because they thought maybe it came from the steam engine, because that was mostly what powered everything. But San Francisco, if you've ever been to San Francisco, when the fog rolls in, it chills out. So a lot of these breweries would put the tanks up on the roof and they would pour the beer. Well, this is hot wort, so it's hot, and now it's cooling down. And then when the fog came in or the weather got colder, it dropped. Well, steam was coming out of it, and then people would walk by and go, "Oh, look, they're making steam beer." That's where the one closest to what everybody at the brewery and Fritz believed in. It's like that's where it came from. But then he got a
No
patent
kidding.
on the style. So any other brewery anywhere in the United States, I don't know the trademarks on everything across. We were in 6 countries in 50 states, but he did the 6 countries to keep his trademark going. And you could make a steam beer, but it had to be called the California Commons. You could not call it steam.
California Commons.
Yeah.
California Commons. Okay.
I went, man, I remember one time I was in Denver doing a festival and this guy was next to us and he was with Steam Engine. That was the name of the brewery, Steam Engine. And I'm like, oh, interesting name. And they're like, oh, yeah. And the kid, nice kid. Oh, man, we make this red. It looks just like yours. We call it Steam Engine Red. It's fantastic. So I go, oh, that's awesome, dude. So I traded a bunch of swag, hats, sweatshirts. He gave me a bunch of stuff. I got all his literature. I get back to San Francisco. I take it up to the 3rd floor, the legal department, whatever. I go, here you go. Cease and desist. You're done, dude.
Hey man, we make one just like yours with a similar name. Cool.
Yeah,
That's going to be a problem for you.
Mm.
That's not going to work out.
It's pretty funny. I go, no, that's great, man. And I taste it. I go, wow, that's amazing. You're right. That's awesome, dude. And I traded him all this stuff, and he's happier than hell. And I'm not gonna be a bad guy, but hey, man, Fritz paid for something. This is it's paying my livelihood. So I'm like, yeah, I got to take care of the brand. So
It is, yeah.
but it was
It is
just
what it
crazy.
is.
I mean, we were making beers like Liberty is the original. I used to crack up. I had my Anchor car and I'd go to Chico all the time because that was one of my markets and I loved it. People were like, oh, we got pale ale. I go, dude, why drive a kit car? You can drive the real car. We're the original pale ale.
And tell us about the Liberty. Tell us about that.
Liberty was amazing. I mean, it was one of my favorite beers, and it was the original pale ale. But Fritz never put pale ale on it; he would just put Liberty. And then Ken Grossman put pale ale, and then Fritz, being Fritz, he would never do something that somebody else did first. Like that's not going to happen. Fritz was always the maverick. He's always the guy ahead of everybody. But he changed the beer industry, man. He did things that and the funny thing in Chico when they opened. Ken Grossman came and saw Fritz. Fritz helped him. Fritz sold him, and because back in the day, it's not like today. It's not a turnkey. Hey, I want to open a 30 barrel system. You can just buy it. You can get in a catalog and order, and it's delivered. Back in the day, they didn't have any of that. But Fritz came from the Maytag family, also owned Maytag Blue Cheese. So he came from the dairy side, and making cheese is very similar to making beer. So Fritz had that. That's why he was so intrigued about the brewery when it was up for sale, and he bought it. And he sold Ken Grossman a lot of equipment, and stuff that was dairy that you'd convert it over. You make it into brewing equipment, and it was a different time, and that's what happened. And I mean, Chico, it is what it is. They sold their beer in town, and if they didn't, he did it where.
And real quick, just to clarify, when you say Chico, you're talking about Sierra Nevada. And the reason I have to clarify is because I love this. I absolutely love this. You say, listen, the first pale ale was here. Where a lot of people peg the pale ale that set the standard is the Sierra Nevada pale ale. That's where a lot of people peg it. And I love this because you're like, Chico, this and that, and Maytag. But a lot of people don't understand that connection. Like, hey, what you think of as the standard setter, which I probably have said, not probably, I'll bet I've said on this show, the standard setter of the pale ale was the Sierra Nevada. But where did it come from before that?
Exactly. But they're the bar, and they got big. They got huge.
They did get big.
Fritz never wanted to get bigger. I mean, that's another thing I learned. Okay, this will blow your mind. I came on board 95. I did a year of, and everybody does production. Everybody needs to know how the product is made. And we never hired a brewer from Siebel or any brewing school because You already came in with a system in your head, and Fritz didn't want to do it. You had to do it. You did it the Maytag way. So everybody that was a brewer, anybody was a taxi driver. I don't know. You worked in nobody had a beer background. That's how Fritz wanted it, because you're going to learn clean palate. You're going to learn everything the way we do it. And I came in and I scrubbed kegs. I did fermenters. I worked the lab. I distilled. I brewed, but I hated it. I couldn't wait to get into sales because people would go, "Oh, so cool being a brewer. It must be so cool." No, you're a raisin. You're soaked all day. You're watering. All you do is clean. You wear overalls. You wear boots that are going to rot your feet. I didn't get it. I'm like, this isn't for me. I don't mind doing the process because now I know how it's done. And that's why, I got a tap house now. I can't stand these idiots that come in. "Oh, you got to do this beer," talking about the beer. And I go, "Well, how's it brewed? What do you guys do?" "I don't know. I've never been to the brewery." What are you, a moron? Are you a complete idiot? How can you sell me a beer that you've never made, and you're selling me a car you've never driven or seen how it's made? "Oh, but it's the best car. You got to drive it."
Right.
No, I don't. No, I
Sure.
don't. I mean, that's the thing. And we were solid. I remember the only time I ever, in 10 years of doing sales all over the country, a kid gave me a curveball. And we're at a store in San Diego, and this kid's selling a bejesus of our gin. I'm like, damn, no one sells, because we're a boutique. We're not Sapphire. We're not selling 10,000. Whatever. We just one 6-pack at a time. And I'm in there, and the kid goes, "Well, where do your juniperberries come from?" And I go, "But I knew everything. I mean, everything about the beer, everything." And then he goes, "Where do your juniperberries come from?" I go, "Shit, I don't know." I go, "Damn it." He goes, "No, it's a big deal." I go, "No, it is a big deal." So I call the brewery, and I'm looking for Bruce Joseph, who's still the distiller for the brand, for the high end whiskey and gin. And I go, "Is Bruce in the building?" They're like, "No, he already left." I'm like, "Damn it." I go, "Is Mark Carpenter around?" Now was my boss. He goes, "Yeah, he's on a cell. Call him on a cell." I go, "Okay." So I get on the phone and I call Mark, and Mark's in the car. I go, "Hey, Mark, how's it going?" He goes, "Good." I go, "Well, I'm in San Diego. I got this kid asking me a question about the Junipero gin." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "He wants to know where the juniper berries come from." He goes, "Hold on." So he passes the phone, and it's Fritz. And Fritz talked like Thurston Howell III from his boarding school. And
Yeah.
he goes, he's always very polite. "Hello, Julio. How are you?" "I'm doing great, Fritz. I got a question for you." And he goes, "What is it?" And I go, "This guy wants to know where the juniper berries come from." And he goes, "Does he?" And Fritz was always very secretive. He liked, he goes, "Does he want to know, or does he really want to know?" I go, Nah. He just wants to know. He's just a kid selling the stuff in the store. He's not gonna, he's not gonna come out with his own brand tomorrow." And he
Right.
goes, "Put him on." Oh, holy shit. It almost killed my phone. He was on the phone with this kid for like 15 minutes. Blah, 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 blah. Oh my God. Finally, the kid gets off the phone. I'm like, "Jesus, I got any battery left, And I go, "Thanks a lot, Fritz." He goes, "No problem." They come from Tuscany. So we buy the juniper berries from Tuscany. I'm like, "Oh, now I know."
Wow.
I see Fritz about 2 weeks later, because I traveled a lot. I was all over the place. And I ran into Fritz in the hallway. I go, "Hey, Fritz." I go, "Hey, thanks for helping me close that deal on that kid in San Diego." He looked at me like, "What the hell?" He didn't remember. And he goes, I go, "Yeah, remember the kid you told me about the juniper berries, the Tuscan?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, what a delightful young man." I go, "Yeah, he was pretty good." I go, "I sold him a shitload of stuff. I got cases of gin, whiskey. He was on cloud nine after talking to you. I don't know his
Yeah.
spirits. Like, you kidding me? It was a lay down. And thanks for the help. I mean, you closed the deal for me." And he's laughing, walking down the hallway. And it was just crazy, because we never, there were toys for Fritz. These were all. That's when I realized, when I went into sales, I was three of people for the whole country. That was it. 3 sales guys for the whole United States. So we were at 95,000 barrels.
Well, and let me real quick. So here's the thing. I've done beer sales, right? And Julio, you know this because you not only have done the sales, but you're on the other side. You do the purchasing as well, right?
Yeah. Now I do. Yeah.
The relationship and that communication,
Ah,
what you set up with that kid. I mean, listen, here's the deal. They made that connection. He had his question. It was answered. Not only had you answered it, that probably would have put him where he needed to be. But then it went up to, "Hey man, here's the guy in charge, and he's going to explain to you where this is." A lot of it does not matter where the fuck those juniper berries came from.
no.
But the fact that somebody got on and was like, "I'm going to explain to you where those
No,
came
no.
from.
Well,
I've done the sales,"
not somebody,
right?
Fritz Maytag.
Fritz Maytag, and that's exactly it, right? And it's a lot of times does somebody give a shit? Is there anybody here who gives a shit and wants to answer a question, wants to connect with me? And why is it when we're in this industry right now that is so just flooded with
Saturated.
product,
Saturated.
as you will, saturated. Why do I care about you? And tell me from the purchasing end,
It's
how does
hysterical.
this come across? What do you see? Do you get people coming in who are like, hey, hi, my name's Travis. I'm from this place and I want to tell you everything I know. And also, how are you? Or do you get people that come in and they're just like, hey, man, I got this truck. How much of my stuff do you want? You know what I mean?
I'm telling you, it is so asinine now. Because I mean, I still get together with my buddy Dan Mitchell, the other sales guy for Anchor. We're still best friends. We see each other for 2 weeks in the city. And we go, man, we look at each other and we're like, dude, we're dinosaurs, brother. When we sold beer, we were all over the country. And I go, we built relationships and we had permanent handles. That doesn't exist anymore. Permanent handles, dead. Dead.
No, dead, gone.
And I would build relationship, man. If I knew, okay, I go to a bar and it's Nick, and I know Nick likes to cook and stuff like that. Dude, I'd get him. And at the time, Dan knew a guy at this books publishing place, and they had all these cookbooks, and we'd get some cookbooks. So I'd find out what Nick liked, and I'm like, oh, dude, the guy's a barbecue machine. I'd find him a barbecue book or this and that. I came to the bar, I give it to him. It's like a $50, $100 book. You think Nick ever took my handle off the bar? Never.
No.
My handle's on their permanente.
Never.
And I get these kids now, especially the brewers. These are the best. These guys. They think they're Bobby Flay. They think they're chefs. They walk in going, you know who I am? I got this beer. I'm like, dude. One dude was getting in my face one day, and I'm like, dude, you got to stop. I brew. I'm the best. I'm like, okay, you brew in Sacramento or outside of Sacramento, you get a good beer. But let me tell you something. Outside of Sacramento, you're a pimple on my ass. I go, I worked for a company. We were in 6 countries, 50 states, 6 countries, and I never took myself seriously. I sold beer. I was a legal drug pusher. That's the way I looked at it.
You are.
I sold beer. I
Yes.
sold whiskey. I had
All day.
wine. I had everything. And we were humble. We would walk around like, this is cool. We got a great gig. I love my gig. But these guys walk around like, dude, what are you, Augie Bush? Who the hell do you think you are? I mean, they crack me up, dude. They're so full of themselves. And you're like, dude, I go, thank God I got double doors so you can go out so your head will fit through, because I don't know. It's a different world.
Yes.
It's a different world, man. Different world. And nowadays,
Julio, listen, here's what we're going to do. We've got to take a break. We've got to cut to, I don't know, I probably don't have any trail reports, a promo or some shit. We're going to take a break real quick, and then we're going to come back and, my God, we're going to jump right back into this shit. Hey, this is outstanding. I love it. The double doors.
I love it. I could talk about stuff because this just ferments in me because I can never talk to anybody. I'm like, dude, does anybody else see what I see? It's like, it's good to let people know. It's like, dude, come on. It's here. It's not.
This is what we're here for, and this is what our fans love, is the actual insight into the industry. Absolutely love it. We're going to take a quick 5, and we'll be right back. We're going to jump right back in. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. Here we go.
Did you ever get the feeling that there was more to this world than meets the eye?
Ghosts, aliens, big feet, interdimensional spirits, cryptids, North Dakota. Well, neither have we.
So come join us as we uncover the true stories and plausible explanations behind famous paranormal urban myths.
From the perspective of skeptics.
But it's funny. We promise it's funny.
So join us in the Least Haunted Podcast, because the only thing that's haunted here is you.
Ah!
Do you often find yourself at the crossroads with no idea which way to go? Do you struggle with philosophical quandaries over the meaning of existence and your own mortality? Do you ever find yourself wondering who would win in a fight between the Ghostbusters and the Ninja Turtles? Then Ask Cody Cricket is the podcast for you. Join me, your eponymous and possibly anthropomorphic giant cricket, and let me be your guide through all of life's many struggles and questions. Each week, I give honest, thoughtful, sometimes funny, and hopefully helpful answers to listeners' questions. No topic is too irreverent nor too deep. From relationships to potato chips, it never hurts to ask. Drunkenly mix metaphors and travel happy trails.
Welcome back. Man, those were some promos and or field reports, and who knows what we just listened to. You'll know. I don't until I edit.
Could have been
but
silence.
man, what a good time we just had. Yeah, maybe 2 minutes of just complete silence. Who knows? Fuck it, I might do it.
Or like 2 minutes of me humming something. Just
It might be, man. If you haven't heard Nick hum, you haven't lived. That's real.
real humdinger.
That's real.
I get it.
Maybe we have Julio yodeling. I don't know. We'll find
Many people
out.
don't yodel. Many people don't yodel.
Well, let's do this. Let's talk about this festival that's coming up. First of all, we touched on this. You said Cisco's literally supplying everything. And the way I found out about this is because Nick looked it up and he comes to me and he goes, "Hey man, did you see? One of the ingredients being supplied is beans." Because Nick and I have a disagreement over whether or not beans belong in a chili, right? Listen, if you put beans in your chili, I will eat the chili. I do not believe beans belong in a chili, but as evidence that beans belong in a chili, Nick showed me what Cisco's providing.
I
Thoughts?
It's good filler.
I agree with you. I believe that chili should not have beans, but they supply it, and to each their own. Some people, whatever.
Nick, what do you think about that? It seems like a 2-1 vote. Nick,
I'm totally fine with it. Let me be clear here. I agree. Proper chili is without beans. But, if you got to feed a lot of people and you got to be a little conservative on money, beans are cheaper than beef.
I've had some great I've had some great chili with beans in it. It's fantastic.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fair.
In my chili, I usually do kidney beans, black beans, pinto beans. And the one thing that
I like a bean medley.
Yes, exactly. It's not just one bean. It's got to be multi beans. And just so conveniently, Costco sells flats of the whatever S&W or whatever. 3 bean medley. So, and then I also put something else in that Travis absolutely does not like in chili. I don't do it all the time, but it's a nice little sweet thing to add on. Corn.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And what have I said? Nick, if you make it for me, I'm going to eat it. But you son of a bitch, corn does not belong in chili.
But I know it doesn't.
It gives it that yellow color. You want a color. It's aesthetic.
Exactly. It's nice little color, nice little sweetness.
I grew up. I'm Cuban.
Here's the deal.
I'm Cuban. My mom would make black beans, and we would have black beans, and then she'd put the big olives, the green ones.
Oh yeah.
And then red bell peppers. She. So it looked, man, and then you pour that on some white rice. The colors, it was beautiful. It was a great plate.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this out here. Listen. You've got your chili, and then you start adding beans. You start adding corn.
Where does it end?
Throw a couple of tater tots. Suddenly, it's a casserole. You live in Minnesota. What the fuck is this?
Then you're throwing spaghetti into
Where's
it.
Where is the line?
Exactly.
Where's the line? Yeah. And at some point, man, are you in Cincinnati? And now you're adding some chocolate, cinnamon, and cinnamon on top of
cinnamon
spaghetti
rolls.
noodles.
That is so wrong. I had it.
Cinnamon rolls baked on top. God damn
So
it.
wrong.
What are we doing
So
here?
wrong.
What are we doing?
Saving dishes. That's what they're doing.
Sacrilege is what we're doing. Sacrilege. Well, gentlemen, let's do this. We've been on here for a significant amount of time, and nobody said what they're drinking. What are we drinking here? Everybody's got a drink in hand. Julio, what do you got?
I'm drinking a cider from 2 towns from Corvallis, the Crimson Bliss. It's
Corvallis.
That's a good one.
Beautiful town. Short drive out of Eugene. Yes, north.
Yes, it is.
North, I believe.
That's why
I live right.
Towns.
Yeah.
One owner went to Eugene, went to Oregon, and the other guy went to Oregon State. So that's why they call it 2 towns.
Huh.
No shit. Okay,
And
so
here
one's
I
a
thought
duck,
it
one's
was-
a beaver, yeah?
Huh?
Yes. One's a duck, one's a beaver. Yes.
Yeah, correct.
Huh. I thought it was actually Corvallis and Albany because they're like kind of next to each other.
Nope.
But that's good to know. I learned something today.
What specific cider do you have there? I noticed
It's a Crimson Bliss.
Yeah.
And what the hell's it got? I mean, it's pretty tasty. It's got all kinds of flavors, I think. It is cranberry currant cider.
Yep. Ooh.
5.2%, so it's easy to drink. No big deal.
Matches your glasses.
You like it, huh? Yeah. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking Great Notion Mango Super Invader.
Wow.
I think this might be based off of here. I'll show the can here. I love, I'm always a fan of the Great Notion can art.
Great Notion, great can art.
They have their primary hazy double IPA called Juice Invader, based off of the same alien character, I believe. And it's just your standard hazy. So I think in this case they've added in because they're actually classifying it as a fruited double IPA. So they've obviously added some mango to the mix, probably used some hops that give off some mango essence as well. It's been delicious. This is dangerous stuff because it's 9.1%, and I could literally drink this all day long until I pass out. Yeah, I'll maybe passing out by like 3 or 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
But it is amazing.
Then bring one every other hour.
Pretty much, yeah. And even though it says mango super, I was expecting it to be very mango forward, but it's not. You still get a nice hop profile on it.
Is it puree mango, or is it artificial, or what? How do they get the mango in there?
I'm not sure. It doesn't actually say on the can, but I'm sure if I looked it up in the Great Notion app, they're on top of things in terms of being, running as branding and everything. They have
they do have their own app.
Yeah, they have their own app, which you can order beer from them and have it as long as you live within Oregon, boom, overnighted to you.
Oh wow. Nice.
Yeah. It's that's how I get most of their beers, because they're all based up in, all their places are up in Oregon. I mean Portland, yeah. Okay, so it's inspired by 2 of their beers, Super Ripe and Juice Invader, saturated with Galaxy, Vic Secret, and Citra hops. And then they just say take it to another dimension by adding mango. They don't say if it's puree or what. I don't think they might have filtered it out, but
Vic Secret I'm not familiar with. That's a new one on me.
Delicious beer though.
Yep, here we go. All right. Vic Secret hops. Here we go. Australia. Yeah. Actually, not there you go. Most of the fruity and tropical hops that are coming through that we're using in these really fruity, really juicy IPAs are New Zealand. I don't want to confuse that, because New Zealand, they have one very strong hop program that's been going on for a few years, really turning out some just really tropical, boom, in your face hops. And they've had over the past maybe 3 years, a second company that's been coming out producing these amazing hops. New Zealand just coming out on the front. So this Vic Secret coming out of Australia, who's the grower? Man, I can't see. Can't see it here.
It's a Vic Secret.
You son of a bitch. Victoria's Secret, if you will. And I'll tell you what, man.
Oh, that's why it's such a silky hop profile.
It's got me just as excited as that catalog did when I was 9. All right, we're getting personal. Described. Big notes, pineapple and pine, 16.5 alpha acids, 6.1 to 7.8 beta acids. Nick, tell me about the pineapple and pine that you're experiencing.
Not so much pine, but there is a little pineapple behind that mango.
Was Galaxy in the mix that you just said?
Yes.
Interesting fact, where I was just looking this up, Galaxy is listed as a substitute. So interesting. So they go with this, the Vic Secret, plus some Galaxy, give it a little more extra depth and breadth. I like it. How is it? How's that beer?
It's good. I actually just looked up Galaxy hops, and it says just a quick description of passion fruity character along with aromas and flavors of clean citrus and peach. So definitely, I get a nice little peach, pineapple, mango flavor behind. It is a very delicious tropical hazy. Like I said, it's dangerous because it's so smooth and can drink it all day.
At 9.1.
You wouldn't even know it's 9%.
Yeah.
At 9.1, yeah.
9.1, you wouldn't even know.
Yeah, man, it's sessionable, man. It's one that you sip all day by the pool.
It's drinking like a 4.
Wow.
Which, interestingly, we were chatting about before the record. There's a great spot called English Ales that we were chatting about. We'll bring the proprietor on at some point down the road. And conversations I've had with him are just he's talking about back in the day across the pond, beers 3, maybe 4%.
Yeah,
you drink them all day, no problem, very crushable. And here we are overseas, and we're dropping. I don't know, man. I don't think I have not imbibed anything under 6% since I can remember, and that's just how it is. And he's talking about, like, look, 3%, 4%, you can drink these all day, no problem. And it's really great for the proprietor because he can sell them to you all day long. you drop a 12%er.
Oh,
I'm selling you one,
crazy.
maybe two of those, and you got to get out.
Yeah.
How's that profitable for the man behind the bar?
I barely carry doubles at at our tap house because, dude, I'm not here to get you shit faced. It's like I want you to drink some beers. Right. These people triples. I'm like, dude, seriously, one of those, and I'm worried that you're gonna get behind the wheel and kill somebody, and then I'm liable. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And okay, I got a topic for you guys. Okay, how about
Yes.
barley wines? You don't even talk about them anymore. They're the stepchildren.
Barley wines. Look, and
They're
I'm going to throw this
popular.
at Nick. I'm going to kick it to you. Here's what I remember about barley wine, and I'm going to kick it to Nick. Here's what I remember. Barley wine is Sierra Nevada Bigfoot.
Yeah,
That's my impression of barley wine.
they copied
It's
us.
thick.
We had a Christmas beer. We were the first to do that.
It's syrupy, right? It's syrupy. It feels like you're drinking cough medicine. And I can get a triple IPA that's a lot lighter and doesn't abuse me the way a barley wine
That
does.
is my point. They're not they're stepchildren. You don't talk about anymore. Now you're going in.
Who wants
You're
it?
getting triples, quadruples. I'm like, who drinks a barley wine anymore? You can just get one of these and just bring a pillow and pass it.
And
So I just had a
here's the
barley
deal.
wine on Friday.
And this is Nick, and this is where I want to kick it to you. And this is where I'm going to kick it to you because Nick has had more experience than I have recently. My view is this, and I'm going to throw it out here. I'm going to lay it down. I could just fucking drink some Robitussin.
No, it's
Come on
I
now.
could just drink
no,
some Robitussin.
no.
It's thick. It's syrupy.
No.
Okay.
like
We
we made foghorn, and dude, I still got some bottles. If you lay them down, they keep because there's so much, the sugar on it. It's like it was so high that they'll keep. They get better and better, and they mellow out. They get smooth. It's like like a port almost. It gets that good.
Yeah.
So it's funny because the one that I had like a few sips off of it. It was what Monica was drinking. We went out to Anchor Brewing in Eugene, and
I've never heard of that. Neither of our listeners. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
We talk about Oakshire.
Definitely have talked about Oakshire a lot. Yeah, and
For sale now.
out of nowhere because I thought what she was drinking was just like some barrel aged imperial stout. Until I took a sip and I was like surprised. I was like, whoa, wasn't expecting that. And it's a barley wine. It's like 13.7%. They're insane. Yeah. But I like the name of the beer itself. It was called Life in Slow Motion. Which basically, like, if you have enough barley wine,
yeah,
you're living life in slow motion.
That's the description of when you drink too much Robitussin. I'm telling you, barley wine and Robitussin are very similar.
You become a sloth. It's like,
Interesting you bring up a sloth because we just bought a piece of art from a farm stand on Saturday that has a sloth.
Nice.
And it says home sleep home.
Yes. Very nice.
That's funny. No, but I mean, they're just nobody drinks them anymore. It's just sad because I remember the barley wine festival and stuff like that. That's non-existent. People just, but again, and then like these people with spicy beers. You guys were talking about it on one of your things I listened to, and I'm like, man, I made a mistake. I put one of those jalapeno beers online. Holy shit! It took me forever to clean my line out. It was impossible. I had to bring in all I poured ciders in it because the acidity of the apples cleaned my line out. It was insane. I will never pour a spicy beer online ever in my life.
And here's the thing. I give a hard time to the barley wines because I feel like the barley wines had a pass for a long time. They had a pass because they were the high proof beers, right? So they had a pass. And so there were a lot of just crap barley wines that came out. And now we're getting a lot of better ones, right? So, yeah, I give them a hard time for sure.
They're at the foster homes.
Bigfoot.
They're getting adopted.
Oh, my God. They're the redheaded stepchildren, are they not?
They're done.
And here's the deal. Look, you know me. I've got a lot of respect for Sierra Nevada. I do. But their Bigfoot, it was, I'm going to throw this out here. It was a terrible beer. I don't like it. I won't drink it. I don't like to say that about beers.
Did you ever try a foghorn?
No, well, and that's the problem. No, I did not. And
What?
so I had some of these just real syrupy,
No, see, ours was really balanced. Fritz our stuff, everything was really bad. Our porter, I would have put it up with Deschutes. We had one of the best porters around ever. I mean, it was a great porter, Anchor porter. It was like delicious. But it was like one thing we made a wheat beer that everybody hated because we filtered it. We were the first to do a filtered wheat beer. And I got tired of listening to people, it's not foggy, it's not hazy. It's not.
Dude, I can get behind that for sure.
Look at Sierra Nevada now with a crystal wheat, right? I mean, come on, man, a clear wheat. What's wrong with that?
That's typically why I stay away from wheat beers, is because they're not filtered.
And to filter a wheat beer, nobody did it because when you're doing it through the filter, it turns in, it's like a big ball of jello. It's just a big loogie. It's disgusting. You can't work with it. It's just this nasty thing. But we did it. We made a filtered wheat beer. It was delicious, but it was so hard to make.
Yeah.
And people,
yeah,
too much labor. It's insane. But that's Fritz, we would do stuff. I remember there's a guy, the wine guy, Tom, funnier shit. He got his MBA at Golden Gate. And every year he'd show up to Fritz's office with his little pie charts and his little PowerPoint shit and make this little presentation on how we could be making, because we would make the Christmas beer, we'd make the foghorn. The foghorn would take 2 huge tanks down in the cellar. I mean, huge tanks. We could be making steam beer. We could make other beers and turning them out, right? No. We would put this stuff down there for 6 months. So he'd go, look, why are we wasting all this time on this beer that nobody really buys? And it sits there for 6 months. We can be using for other beers and flipping them faster. And he'd look at Tom, and he's looking at the pie charts, and he'd look at all the lovely little graphics and everything. He goes, Tom, you're right, but it's my brewery, and I want to run it the way I want. You can make your own brewery, you can do what you want. And he'd walk into the office, and we had like shotguns. We were like, bam, bam, because he got shot down every time. But man, I didn't do those. Every year he'd go into Fritz, and he'd bring out marketing things that we should do, and it wasn't going to happen.
And I've got to throw this out there. The holiday beer was not only unique, but beloved, absolutely beloved.
Different tree every year.
That was one of the beers that we lost in some of the changeover, and some people have said that contributed.
Well, that was at the very end. No, that was at the very end of the time.
And I want to go back. You said different tree every year.
Yeah.
What kind of tree?
You name it. Fritz would do a different tree every year for the label.
So we're talking like spruce tips, and I mean, this is.
It was crazy, but I mean, if you want to go back, I mean that when they came out with no more Christmas beer, and they were going to distribute, and then they came across. First, they said we're only going to distribute in California only. So 49 states went away, 6 states, 6 countries. Then they said, we're not going to do any more Christmas beer. They just sold all the Christmas beer. They just finished it off 2 weeks ago. They were selling 4-packs. They're getting rid of all the Christmas beer, and they got rid of it all. So it's going.
I saw on the Instagram that, and God damn it, I sound like such an asshole. I say the Instagram as a joke, but it also makes me sound like an asshole. On Instagram, I saw that the young folks were talking about doing some verticals. That if you could get a tour at Anchor, you get some verticals of the Christmas beer from 2018 up through today.
Okay, there was a guy. This guy was a weird little cat because he was in Atlanta. He had these. This is 20 years ago, and he had these. I don't know if you could Google. I don't know if they're still around. They're called Taco Max. This little nuthead had 3 locations, and he would buy every year 3. I think he had 5 locations. He'd buy 5 kegs of Christmas and sit on them for like 4 years. So he would put at the bar. He would have verticals going back 5 years. And I'd go to my boss. I go, God damn this guy. I used to go out there to Atlanta. I go, I hate this guy, man, because he had so many kids. Picture he had 5 kegs, right? 5 places. That's 25 kegs. And then he had for 4 other variations. So he had like 100 and some. They were just sitting. He had kegs. And you'd go to, and he had the same tap panels, all different trees. And you could have a 92, a 93, a 94, a 95. You're like, this guy's a wackadoo. But he would do that. And you're losing money from a proprietor because how often it's like people that put like a triple, or they put I only bring in like certain sours. I bring in a 5-gallon because you're not going to turn it over that fast. How many people are going to drink it? Shit's sitting there, losing money.
Let me ask you, because spruce tips Real quick. All right, let's break out. Okay. Hops are there for their preservative nature, right? We have, as time has gone on, we have liked a lot of certain qualities of hops, and so we've cultivated those. Originally, the bitterness of the hops was a preservative that we used, and the India Pale Ale had a higher hop content, higher bitterness,
because
so
of the
that it could
war.
make the
The English.
transition from Europe over to India and yada,
Yeah,
yada,
yeah.
yada. Okay. Now, okay, education out of the way. Now, back to all right, so we've got these beers and they're using spruce tips instead of hops as a mild bittering. Spruce tips aren't that bitter, but as a preservative. So it's replacing some amount of hops as a preservative. How much of a preservative is it? I mean, we're talking these beers, and you said this fellow is putting these on, and I'm talking about Anchor having verticals of 5 years. Are spruce tips enough to preserve a beer for 5 years that you can have a vertical?
Well, but also, okay, if you want to get to that, we could start a whole nother, what's better. I mean, we used to do full flower hops. Now people use pellets.
Yeah,
So I think
sure,
the
sure.
full flower gives it more flavor than the pellets, but it's just cheaper to buy
Of
pellets. So,
course.
people cut corners. It's like, I don't know, it's beans or no beans. So,
I'm no beans. I'm gonna make clear for everybody on the show right now. I am no beans. No beans. If you put beans in it, I will eat it because I'm not rude. So I'll eat it.
but
But don't put beans in the fucking chili.
I'm a traditionalist, but if it's got it tastes, it's all it tastes, If it tastes good, great.
That's it. I'm gonna
It's
eat
like,
it.
I'm in the burger business. You see people make these burgers that put 20 flavors. What do I want 20 flavors in my mouth? I just want,
Ah,
it's
This is why I
you-
love the
you'll
smash
love.
burger so
Well, you
much.
got to when you come visit, you're gonna love it. We do a smash burger, we grind. It's a chuck and brisket grind, and we do a smash and smash cheese with fries,
yeah.
and we have this trucky bread it'll turn in 3 days because it's so fresh, and
Yes.
$17 for a burger, a double. Can't beat the price.
You said brisket and chuck?
Yes,
I
it's
like
delicious.
it.
I love it.
I like it.
Absolutely
Excellent.
love it. I have, for listeners of the show will know, I have when I'm getting serious about a smash burger. A lot of times, hey, I'm just gonna smash one for dinner. Who gives a shit? When I got people over, I'm smashing. We're talking brisket, short rib,
Oh
chuck.
yeah, nice.
That's the combination of the blend that I
Yeah.
do. Absolutely. Those are
That's there. That's
flavorful,
amazing.
flavorful meats. Yeah, those are flavorful meats. They got a proper fat
Yep.
content. That's your standard. That's what you're smashing.
Yeah.
You're doing your
We,
yeah.
we do we do
That's
chuck and
outstanding.
brisket. We don't do the ribs, but chuck and brisket. Dude, there was a place out here.
Now chuck and brisket. What else do you need?
Oh, there was a meat company out here, and they brought me samples, and I'm not going to mention them because it was so lean, 95% lean. It was like eating paper. I'm like, this is terrible. There's no flavor. It was just like,
Yeah,
I don't get it. They're like, well, we don't have 5% fat. I go, that's hello. You're going to make tortillas. If you're going to make tortillas, if you're
Gross.
going to make tortillas,
Fat is flavor.
well, if you're making tortillas, put a little lard in it. You gotta have lard. That's magic, buddy. That's what makes it delicious. I'm sorry. Don't eat it every day. You'll die. If you eat everything I grew up, everything in
Yeah.
moderation. If you're gonna eat a ton of stuff, you're gonna die. Okay, you just can't do that. But just moderate. Just eat tortillas every once in a while. You eat this or that, but you don't eat a steak every day. But hey, mix in a little fish, a little chicken. Hey, you'll be fine.
100%. It's what I always say. Listen, you don't have to eat. You don't have to eat ice cream for dessert every day.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna eat ice cream, get the full fat ice cream. Get into it. Don't eat the fat-free anything. You're just gonna wish you didn't have any.
Eat
That's
the
it.
whole
And if
goddamn
you go
thing,
for
but eat it
beef,
once.
especially on a
Exactly.
smash burger, my goodness, you gotta have some fat in there. That's where
Well,
the
we
flavor comes from. And it,
we made a burger that got us on Diners and Dives. It was Guy Fieri's second favorite burger he's ever had. It was this. You'll love this. We
yeah,
use grass fed beef. Now we make it with the blend we do: crumbled blue cheese and bacon. 2 ounces of bacon, raw bacon. We sear it on top. Oh, dude! And then we make it a little thicker so it comes out meat. You gotta have a medium.
man.
Medium. You can't have it well done. It tastes like shoe leather. Can't have.
yeah.
But it's a great burger.
It's interesting, Nick. You and I, we've talked many times before about the smash burger versus what we call sometimes we call maybe the granny burger, like that, just kind of the fat, the pub patty, if you will. And I don't know, man. There's
Yeah,
time and
Yeah.
place, is there not?
We do a chop
Yeah,
burger. You know what a chop burger is?
absolutely. Yes, like a chopped cheese sandwich.
Damn right. Oh my God, we put it on a hoagie. People go nuts, and we use ghost peppers
Yeah.
in it. Oh my God, it's crazy.
Well.
People love it. I can't eat it; it's too hot. It's like, ooh, tears me
Excellent.
up. Very sensitive Latino.
Well, and so tell us about your spot, Lefty's. What is it? Tell us.
Well,
What is it? Where is
it's
it?
in East Sacramento by the college. Great area. I mean, very affluent area. People got too much money. And we have a beer garden, sort of. Because I left Anchor and I used to work at these places. They were in Menlo Park next to Stanford College, where I grew up. The Oasis, Dutch Goose, these places were institutions. They were,
Yes.
the O was written up in the Rolling Stone. I mean, it was just a great little burger joint. And, working for Anchor, I got to go all over the country and seeing all these kind of things. And I go, man, I always wanted to open a burger place. So it started getting a little goofy at Anchor. And I go, time to move. And I used to go to Sacramento. It's a nice cow town. It still is, but it just wants to be a big city. But that's another story. So I opened up this place called, they already existed, but the kid got into heavy drug problems and had to sell it. I bought it. I took over the menu, but I just modified, I made everything healthy. We went with artisanal bread. We went with this company, 5 Dot Ranch. It was all grass-fed beef, organic greens. We were doing Kennebec potatoes. Nobody knew what the hell Kennebec potato was. We make our own French fries, blanch them. And we made these burgers, and then I was going to make it the best tap house in the city. I think I did. We had really good beers. At the time in 2010, there were 3 breweries, and they're gone now, all 3 of them, because beers got better. And people are like, wow, I was drinking this for how many years? It was terrible. But we opened up, and I was doing really well. After we opened, 3 months into it, they called us from Diners and Dives. I thought it was a whole hoax. I thought it was my friends trying to, pull a fast one across the country. It's like, I didn't really believe it for the longest time, and I kept getting these emails. I'm like, this is bullshit. And then next thing you know, they show up, they do the first shoot with everything, and then Guy Fieri shows up, and second best burger he's ever had. It's called a Dad's Burger. Well, this went on for a while. We blew up, but the rents were too much. I got tired of all the waiters and the labor and just all the BS. I'd schedule people together. They didn't want to work together because they stopped sleeping together. So it's like, I go, I don't need these ordeals. So
real talk, anyone who's never worked in food, this all sounds crazy to you. Anyone who's worked in food is just like, oh yeah,
I can't believe they don't do like a reality show.
Everybody kind of sleeps with everybody. It's like this.
I can't believe they don't do a reality show with a restaurant, because you talk about it's perfect,
dude. There is no channel.
Because then nobody would go to restaurants.
Carry it, yeah, it would kill restaurants. My God,
they made a movie.
I remember that,
and I think that
waiting.
Like,
waiting. My goodness, that barely scratched the surface. Let's be real.
I brought a partner in, and then it just wasn't working. She just, we just went different ways, and she ended up buying one, and then I sold her the other one. And then in 2018, I started doing this one I have now, and then we opened. In 2020, we opened March 6th, and then March 17th, the shit hit the fan with COVID. So we never got any government money because we were supposed to get $358,000 or something like that. A lot of money. Yeah. And 2 weeks before we get it, they're like, oh, you needed to be open 2 weeks or 2 months earlier. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So we got nothing. But what I did, I was lucky because it was like I looked like a genius because like, wow, because I got rid of waiters. We'd have 1 bartender, 2 when it's busy. You get a number. We had a food runner and 2 guys in the kitchen. That was it. And we had a big beer garden. So when the crap hit the fan, we would just come in for beers. We're like, here's a beer. Go outside. Go stand outside. I put tables 6 feet apart. Sure. So we never closed. We only closed for maybe a week, and we were doing great. And now we're just we put in a full kitchen. We got a smoker. We got an 18-foot smoker. And we use real wood there, Nick. Real wood. We use almond wood, and it's an 18-foot Lang smoker. If you know smokers, Lang is probably the best smokers available. They're amazing. Yeah. True. It's money. And we do our brisket. We do meatloaf in it. We do mac and cheese. We do our Mary's chicken's probably the best chicken you ever had. Mary's amazing. We do everything in that smoker. We're going to start making our own bacon, because bacon is insane in California now because of the laws. It's just stupid. So
Gotta come from
Yep.
California. Pork from California.
Everybody hates California. I travel. I was in Omaha. I was in California, a bunch of freaks around. Thank you very much. Yeah, everybody hates California now, but it's a beautiful place to live.
Look, I'm going to throw this out here. We have to continue this. We're going to do this again. This is amazing. We have so much more to talk about. Nick, tell us where people can find out more about us.
HobbyTrailsPod.com.
HobbyTrailsPod.com. That's the link. It's got the link to everything else. Julio.
At Lefty's in East Sacramento, 5610 Elvis. Check us out on the Instagram. We got a great restaurant.
We're going to 100% do this again. We have the Chilean Beer Festival coming up. That's coming up. What's the dates on that?
Hopefully September 30th. I got to sell more tickets, or I don't know. I think you guys should come out, and then we'll take you all. I'll take me and the Dust Bowl guy. He's dying to meet you guys. It's like he'll take you all over.
Absolutely. We're going to have a good time. Listen, if you're listening to this, go buy tickets. Come out. Let's have a good time. It's going to be an absolute blast. We're going to be out there. We're going to be drinking beer. There's something like, I don't know, what'd you say, like 30 breweries going to be out there?
25 to 30. And right now, if you go on Instagram, tickets are going to go like $65 right now. We got them for $40. If you buy, it's a special $40. Yeah, I mean, buy them.
$40 is a good time. You go out there, you drink beer from 30 breweries. It's going to be a blast.
Have some chili.
Until next time, always remember to say yes to the hoppy ending.
Always say yes.
Cheers. The preceding podcast was produced by Sequoia Productions, LLC, copyright 2022, all rights reserved. If you enjoyed this show and you're looking for more, or even if you're looking for something a little different, check out the other amazing shows by Sequoia Productions, wherever you get your podcasts, or on sequoia.com.
Hoppy trails to brew until we drink again. Hoppy trails to brew. Keep sharing with your friends. Who cares about which IPA tastes better? ABV are just a couple letters. Hoppy trails to brews until we drink again.
Okay.
Cool.
You want to keep it rolling? I'm going to take a piss real quick. I swear to God, I'm about to piss myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't have cut it. But I've got to pee. All right, I'll be right back.
Sounds good.